Fed up of floor robes, driven to distraction and drowning with doom boxes? Tired of living in chaos? Welcome to Decluttering Untangled, how to declutter when you're overwhelmed, ADHD or autistic. I'm going to help you uncover the secrets to decluttering, no matter what hurdles you face. You'll discover how to declutter, de-stress and transform your world. I'm Heather Tingle, reformed hoarder, neurodivergent declutter queen, and your guide through the maze of mess. Let's get untangled. Hello, Untanglers, and welcome to another episode of Decluttering Untangled with me, your host, Heather Tingle. Now, today's episode, I want to give a little bit of hope to those of you that feel like decluttering just is not happening because you feel like you're drowning with life, stuff, everything that's happening in your life. Now, I have been there, and I mean this genuinely, I have been there, so I know how it feels, but I am now at the other side of it. So I want to teach you a few things about how to get there. Because one of the main positives for living in a decluttered home is that when life is throwing everything at you, you can do the bare minimum you need to cope with life and get everything done, and it still doesn't show in your house too much. And if it is showing, like, for example, the pot's not being washed, then in your head, you know, it's not going to take long to put everything straight again. And that is such a freeing feeling. And I can't even begin to tell you the difference it makes when you are struggling, when you have a clear home. Like, it makes everything so much easier to deal with. But you are not there at this moment. And I am aware that if you live in a cluttered and chaotic home, you do not have that luxury that I have now. And it can feel like a never-ending cycle of just touching the surface, life happening, you're just firefighting all the time. And that can kind of make it feel like it's impossible to move forward decluttering, because if you take your time to declutter, then something else has to give instead. So the space you're working on might look better, but other spaces in the home can't function and look horrendous because you've had to neglect them. So you're living in survival mode. So I want to talk you through ways forward that means you can still make progress, but you'd be a bit kinder to yourself. I think it's also useful to maybe listen to the earlier episode, the one with the snowball effect of decluttering, so that can help you feel a bit more motivated and show you the ebbs and flows of decluttering and whereabouts you are at the moment. So first of all, if nothing in your life, nothing in your situation is changing, you don't have less responsibilities, you can't magic up extra hours in the day, then you need to accept that your transformation is going to take a lot longer than everybody else's. And that can be a really hard thing to get your head around, especially when you see things on TV or see others' transformations. Things you thought were maybe going to take a few weeks or months or maybe a day might actually take a year or two. Now, my personal declutter took about a year, and that was spending so many hours once my child was in bed, like post 9 p.m, sorting and decluttering, even when I really needed to rest. And sometimes they were like 1 a.m. kind of thing. I mean, that was hyperfocus kicking in, and I don't necessarily recommend it. But what you need to do now is literally throw every spare available minute at decluttering. Make it your all-consuming passion and getting the volume out to feel the benefit as soon as possible. But to be able to do that, you need to do it in a really smart, manageable way. So what you need to do is concentrate on getting strategic. So you need to figure out where all the problems in your life are like dominoes. So one impacts another, impacts another, impacts another. Figure out what that first domino is. So if, for example, laundry is the biggest bugbear, you know, you're surrounded by mountains of clothes on your sofa, you're tripping over things on the floor, you can never find a clean sock when you need one. The kids' clothes, some stuff doesn't fit them anymore, but it's mixed in with the other stuff. Then clothing needs to be where you start. So if you want to be able to open the door to visitors, then you would work on your hallway first. If you want less stress in the kitchen, then work on the kitchen cupboards so the items on the side will then go in there, so you then have clear sides. It might be that the place that you need to sort, so for example, the kitchen side, because it's got paperwork on it, actually means you need to sort somewhere else first, because that's where it needs to go into eventually. So you can't sort the kitchen side out right now. You need to sort where it's actually going to live first. So there might be a drawer in a cupboard where it needs to live that needs sorting first. And what you really need to concentrate on is preparing what you're going to do in 15-minute chunks. Getting clear in your mind will also help you come around to do it, what you're going to do, and when you can quickly stop or quickly start again, or a really perfect pause point, so that you can pick it up and carry on many times, but you're always moving forward. So you've got 5 minutes. Oh, I can just do this amount in 5 minutes. So you've got the small micro category kind of like in 5 to 15-minute chunks, so you can start in the same category all the time. So for example, it might be, and I use this example all the time because it's easier, is you want to sort out clothing. You're going to start with your socks. What you might start off with is all your white socks, or your running socks, or your fluffy socks. And it might be, actually, I've only got 5 minutes while I'm waiting for my child to come out of the toilet or the bathroom or whatever, while they're brushing their teeth. So I'm only going to do the 3 pairs of trainer socks that I can find on the floor. I'm going to quickly get them together. And then later on, I'll do the ones in the laundry basket. And later on, I'll hunt around the house to find them. And then later on, what I'm going to do is get all the white socks together on the bed and go through the white socks. And it might take you 10 attempts at socks to get through all the socks. It might be 10 lots of 15 minutes, or it might be 50 lots of 15 minutes, depending on how many socks you've got. I mean, I know some clients have got 8 drawers of them. So what you want to do is be really strategic. Know where your stopping point was. Right, I finished there. So where my starting point next is this one. I need to do this next. And I can do that in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or whatever. And if I've got to stop at any point, doesn't matter. I'm not taking up an entire room, an entire space. I can just stop, shove a few things back where they were, and I know where I'm restarting. And that is so important, because you are going to be so focused on getting to the end of that sock category, so that you can then move on to the other people in the family's socks. And then you're going to move on to, I don't know, knickers or t-shirts or whatever it is. You're going to move on to the next one, but you've got to be strategic with it and be really focused on each category. And what you want to achieve is you want to achieve categories that are fully completed from start to end. So you'll start to see little pockets of done around your home, and that makes life easier. When you hit one of those pockets, you're like, oh yes, this is why I'm doing it, and it spurs you on to carry on with the rest. It also gives you more time back and more energy back, because when you hit those little pockets, you realize, actually, this is easy. So I found the socks that I wanted to wear. There are in a couple. Oh my word, we haven't got odd socks to deal with today. How great is that? And the important thing is, if you do a category or micro category, it gets fully completed, including getting the discards out ASAP. And that has to be built into your plan. It's really important to be strategic with your time. However, if you find you're spending more time thinking about your stuff than actively decluttering it, that has got to change. You've got to spend as much time as you possibly can actively doing and getting it out. Things like cleaning and housework can be paused for a little while, because in the long run, they will be a million times quicker and easier if you have got a decluttered home. And this is when those little pockets of done makes everything speed up. Now, a lot of the time, things don't get done because you're mentally and physically exhausted, and that keeps you in that shame spiral where you think, well, there's no point doing everything as everything's awful. So yes, the whole house might feel like an out of control chaos, but schedule in time for self-care. Because one of the things that we don't do is we don't do self-care. We don't do anything because we're paralyzed, because we should be doing something else. So what you do is you book in both those things, and recognize that decluttering is also a form of self-care. So if, for example, what I'd really like you to do is take 30 minutes out of your day, it might be 30 minutes out of your week if you can't do a day, or 30 minutes every other day. 15 minutes can be for pure self-care. reading, listening to music, catching up with a friend, going on a walk, having a 15-minute bath, or just sitting in the shower if you can't face anything else, meditating if that's your jam, listening to a podcast that makes you laugh, watching some fun clips on YouTube, whatever, but active self-care, not just scrolling and doom scrolling on Facebook, active. I am going to do this because it makes me happy. So you're going to do 15 minutes of that, and then you're going to do 15 minutes when you return to declutter against the clock. And by doing that, after you've done something good and nice, means that you get the benefits of both things. Because if you start the decluttering bit first, you'll probably hit 30 minutes. What you want to do is the nice thing first that gets you a bit calmer, gets you feeling a bit better, and then you race against the clock to get something done, and then you don't feel guilty about doing them. And yes, it might mean that there's going to be 30 minutes you've got to find somewhere else in the day for something else, but you cannot do it without some form of help or support. So get someone on board to help you support, or with resources. Either someone to drop stuff off at charities for you, or someone have the kids, or get a company like Anglo Doorstep Collections to pick the stuff up from you so that you don't have to go to the charity shop because you don't have time. Or get someone to support you in other ways, like doing chores around the house while you crack on getting a micro category done. But it doesn't have to also be a person giving you help. Maybe it is some kind of shortcut, like doing an online shop to save time rather than going to the shops, or a microwave meal or a takeaway for the family instead of time spent in the kitchen. So that's giving you an extra 15 minutes to declutter. Find some shortcuts in your life, some support from somewhere so that you can find a few more minutes each day or each week to declutter. It really can be amazing what you can achieve if your sole focus is on decluttering rather than keeping up with everything. So, for example, if your children go to an after-school club and you got to take them there, is there another parent that could take them and you bring both sets of kids back? That's going to give you that extra time to get something done. Is there something that you can do that's going to give you the extra time? Because honestly, 15 minutes spent decluttering can save you hours later. It will pay off. So I do hope that's given you some things to think about. Please don't despair. If you're stuck, reach out. So until next time, be kind to yourself. Remember, you are not alone, and keep decluttering. Thanks for joining me for today's episode of Decluttering Untangled. If you found anything that I've said today helpful, please do me a favour. Hit that subscribe button or leave me a review. It's like receiving a virtual high five that keeps me going and lets me know that I'm helping real people out there and I'm making a difference. Please remember, you're not alone in this. I'm building a community of fellow untanglers over on Facebook. Just visit the show notes for the link to my free decluttering community. So until next time, remember, you're not alone, you're not lazy, you can untangle your life.